In today's episode, I sat down with Sean Whalen. Now, some of you may know him and some of you might not. Regardless, as is customary before I sit down with any of the guests I bring on the show, I shoot out a quick list of questions of things that I want to talk about, questions that I want to ask, and topics that I want to delve into. Now, what I wasn't prepared for in this particular episode was the turn that it was going to take. Caught me by surprise, but as some interviews go, I left the door open for Sean to sort of take a lead in what he wanted to talk about. And I'm thankful that I did because it ended up being a very powerful episode. And I found it very impactful in my own life. My hope is that you will too. Enjoy, guys. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, like, do that algorithm thing. We make this show a hit. Have a great day.
My name is Andrew Stephen Rose. Welcome to the show. For years, I've been known as the gym guy. This show isn't about the gym. Some of it might be, but most of it, it's about business, it's about health, it's about your life, your relationships, and optimizing all of it to be the best you can be. So what's the lesson that's taken you the longest to learn?
The lesson that's taken me the longest to learn, my own ego, like my own mindset, my own world, and it's probably never going to be figured out and never going to be a place where I ever arrive to something. But my ego and my mind and my soul is a daily conversation, a daily battle, a daily learning experience.
What's that like? Like, why is that something that's taken you this long to learn?
I think it takes everybody this long to learn if they're honest. You can fake the funk and be like, oh, yeah, I got this shit figured out. Yeah, I'm solid, whatever, whatever. But if you're actually honest with yourself, you realize you have no fucking clue. You realize that there's levels to this game. And if you're somebody like me that wants more, that goes deeper, that wants deeper, that's hungry for knowledge and experience and level, you realize that, it's like saying, hey, give me a new level of the video game, but you're trying to play the video game with the previous levels, tools, and experience. You can't. And so you walk into this new level of the game not having any fucking idea what the game is, how to play it, where the things are, whatever, whatever. And you're like, okay, I got to figure this out. And then there's another level, and then there's another level. And so it's a constant evolution. It's a constant battle. It's a constant experience.
Moving the goalposts. So when you talk about how much time that you spend working on that, right? Or at least being aware of that. What's the most important thing that you do on a day-to-day basis? Something every day that is the single most important component of your day.
Not running away from shit. Not running away from the fears or the reservations or the unknowns. It's so fucking easy. And this is where I think most men go wrong is it's just so easy to lie. It's so easy to pretend. And it's so easy to just be like, oh yeah, no, I'm good. And you're not good. Or you're not okay. It's so easy to pretend that you have it figured out or pretend that you've arrived at this thing and that's where most dudes do it. They, how you doing? I'm okay. I think the thing that's the most important aspect of our day as men is ownership of who we really are and where we really are. I mean, there's a reason that male suicide is so high, right? It's not because there's a lack of money or girls or whatever. It's the fact that men just don't know how to fucking truly own who they are and where they are. They don't have the capacity or the ability to orate these experiences. And so instead they just lie, and that lying perpetuates more and more pain and frustration. And then eventually you end up just killing yourself because you feel like an island, you feel like nobody knows, you feel like whatever. And it's like, the most important thing that we will do as men is really own who the fuck we are and where we are.
I love that. I've really dug into the way that I approach coaching, and I've been coaching people in the gym for over 20 years, but that wasn't enough, wasn't fulfilling. And I found, like, the guys that I work with, it's the number one thing that I'm working on with them is the aspect of everything outside of the gym, like building, building a stronger version of yourself, and radical accountability with it, of like, pointing the finger at yourself and going, what can I do differently? What can I do to be better? And also admitting where I fuck up. Like, and that's what I'm drawn to about everything that you say and do. It is because you call yourself out on shit.
Yeah, you have
And I
to.
think
And
that's like,
if you're not willing to call yourself out, like, how do you expect anybody else to, or who do you
right.
expect people? You know.
Well, and that's the whole thing, is like, you've built your businesses and your brand, and you were very, like, you were out there, and you share the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think that's refreshing in the sense that, like, if I were to sit and meet you in person, you're the exact same fucking human than I see in an Instagram post. And I think that's
what
the
I tell people
biggest.
Yeah, as I tell people all the time, I'm like, I'm the same asshole in person as I am online. You know what I'm saying? So some days are good, some days are bad, some days I'm smoking cigars, some days I'm crying, some days I'm having a great day. Some workouts are dope, some workouts are shit. It's just how it is. Like, you know what I mean? I've just chosen to kind of put it all out there and live me and be me, because trying to do it another way is just fucked.
Is it ever hard to not show up? Sorry, let me rephrase it. Is it ever hard to show up? Are there ever days where you're like, fuck, I don't want to do this?
Yeah. To be honest with you, today's one of those days. I'm at my house right now. Just you want to talk full transparency in how I operate. I'm in the middle of a divorce. My wife decided to fucking divorce me after a 3-year marriage, and I'm in an Airbnb right now. And I woke up this morning at 6 a.m. to get my day going, and I couldn't even get out of bed. And I sat there until about 9:30, and just laid there in bed. And it's like, today's going to be one of those fucking days. And I was going to message you, be like, yo, let's reschedule. I'm like, fuck it, dude. This is real world, real life. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, today's one of those days.
So what was the fuck it moment where you're like, no, I'm going to show up? Like, what made you do it?
I just, what other option do I have? Like, what other option is there? Not, you know what I mean? Lay on the couch and die. That's not an option. And so for me, I coach people and have coached and shared and helped people understand that even if you just take one fucking step in your day, that's more than and better than not. And so for me, it was just like, I'm just going to fucking reschedule this podcast and sit in my shit today. And I was like, no, dude, just get on the podcast. Who the fuck knows what we're going to talk about? Whatever. And then take another step and then another step. You know, we try and swing for the fences and hit home runs and all this other shit. But it's like, some days I'm just happy to fucking get up to the plate.
Right. That's huge. And that's not, obviously anybody that's followed you, knows at least loosely what's going on in your life. And I wasn't going to touch it. I was just going to let it ride. I wasn't going to ask about your personal life, because it's your life. And while I appreciate, and I think everybody does, how much you share, the fact that, again, you don't know me from anybody, and you're gonna open up and be vulnerable about stuff. That's fucking huge. And I just had a conversation with a guy, and he's a Canadian guy, and he's talking about being vulnerable, and he ends up telling me his whole life story. He just met me on the internet. And it's one of those things of like, you take a chance, and that one moment might change someone's fucking day, might change their fucking year. So it's one of those, and I sat here, I'll be honest with you, I sat here for like an hour, and I'm like, this is a big deal for me. I'm like, and I'm over nervous and shit. I was like, no, just fucking do it. Be yourself. And that's, it's why I was drawn to you in the first place, is because you are that fucking genuine. Like, you're going to go smoke your cigar, but you're also going to have a shitty day and share it. It's fucking cool.
Yeah.
But, you have posted so much about your ranch, and I don't know if things have changed over the last couple of months in terms of what that means to you, or what its importance is. Like, explain it to me. What does that place represent?
It It represents a lot. I mean, it represents vision. It represents security. It represents legacy. It represents work. It represents, a guy who had a vision, who worked his ass off to create the vision. Every single person has ideas and they're just popping in and floating around and shit like that. But the difference between, in my opinion, the fucking savages and the dudes that are really fucking about it is they can take that shit out of their brain and make it reality. And earth and hell will come against you. I mean, I bought this ranch 3 years ago, and in the last 3 years, I've had incredible trials with businesses and blowing out my shoulder and now this divorce, and it's just these things that keep coming and coming and coming, and I realize that it represents to me what the antithesis is of work, of being able to. I mean, we got it easy, bro. Like, go back a couple hundred years, and if you didn't go out and fucking hunt and kill an animal and bring it home, your family starved to death. We got fucking phones and cars and bullshit, and you know what I mean? They used to have to dig fucking holes by hand to put shit in. Like, I got big ass friggin' front end loaders digging shit and moving shit around on my ranch. Like, we got shit easy, but at the same time, we got our own set of challenges. And so for me, it represents a lot, probably more than I can orate or that I can wrap words around. But every time I get up there and every time I go there, there's a great deal of pride. There's a great deal of excitement. There's a great deal of pride's the best word. I'm just proud. I'm proud that I'm making this happen, and watching my kids be up there and watching them see it from beginning and be part of the evolution and the growth of this. There's a great sense of honor that I have that this is mine. These 500 acres are mine. I'm building this. I'm putting this together, and I think it's a beautiful thing. When a man can go through trials and still build his shit.
I've said that so many times, and regardless of someone's faith, whenever you put something out, like you're going to do something good, I want to do X, Y, and Z, and you have these grand plans for something, there will inevitably be evil that will come and try to fucking take it from you. Every single time. And it won't, and that's one of those things. I didn't realize that you had, you got this 3 years ago and everything that's gone, on between then and now. But it's, the closer you get to that thing you want, the harder the resistance will be.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
From the time that you bought it, or the time that you even crafted the vision for this ranch, what are some of the most important or impactful steps that you've taken to make it a reality? I think that's a really big one for, say, someone's just starting a fucking journey, whether it's their mental health or their relationships or their business. There are steps that you've taken to get to this point that have created success. What are they?
The number one thing, man, and this is probably the biggest thing that I can share with people, is just to fucking start. Most people won't start. Most people have ideas and they think and 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 think, and they never actually just start. They never write the check. They never form the entity. They never say I love you. They never say I need help. And I think that's the biggest thing in life is you got to just fucking start. Most people won't start, and I think that's what holds people back is they aren't willing to jump. They aren't willing to go. And at the end of the day, that's why, I mean, if you don't jump, you'll never get anywhere. And you don't get in on the starting line of the race, you can't even have a chance to win the race. You know what I'm saying? Do anything, you have 0.0% chance of hitting your targets or your goals. You've got to fucking start. And I think most people get hung up there going, well, how do I do it? What do I do? How do I do it? You just fucking go. I didn't know shit about farm ranches or anything, and I bought a 500-acre piece of blank dirt, like scrub oak. There was no roads, there was no anything. And so I learned about roads and about topography and about things and about, angles and the season up there. And I started our roads and I put our roads in and put them on angles that I knew there'd be good drainage and shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think that's the thing is I'm willing to fucking start. I'm willing to take a chance. I'm willing to jump.
Have you always been that, like with any of the business that you've had and the things that you've done? Have you always just been, you just kind of go into it and say, fuck it, I'm going to do it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, truly, like I don't, and that's the reason. It's really easy for people to judge from the outside. But I've made millions of dollars. I've lost millions of dollars. I've employed hundreds of people. And it's easy for people to look at it and go, "Oh, well, he did this or he did that or whatever, whatever." But the truth of the matter is, I did it. And I
Right.
think that's what separates me from a lot of the other people is it's really simple for people to judge what you should have done, how you could have done it. But at the end of the day, the difference between me and most other people is that I'm willing to fucking go. I'm willing to do it. And in that process, you learn a lot. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about who you are, what you are, and that's a big thing.
That's a good one. That's powerful. There was one I thought about asking this or writing this question and sending it to you, and I didn't. And it was about money. Because I've heard you say, like, you've had millions of dollars, you've lost millions of dollars, you've had it all, you've had nothing. How did I want to say it? Is there a moment when you looked at your bank account or your businesses or whatever, and there was fucking nothing there?
Oh yeah.
In that moment, what went through your head? What did you do?
I mean, what went through my head is fuck. This sucks. You know what I'm saying? What do I have to do? And that's what I've always done is I mean this last year is a prime example of that between the markets and things and employees. I mean I built a big company and had a lot of issues and a lot of problems, and I just kept showing up. It's all you can do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Solve problems. The people that make the most money solve the biggest problems. The people that are successful have become accustomed to solving problems. They don't sit in the shit and da 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 da. Da. They've solved problems. And so at the end of the day, it's what I tell people. Like, you want to be successful, you got to just solve problems. But what most people want to do is they want to sit in the shit and cry about it. But yeah, I mean, bro, I grew up in a single parent home. I didn't have money. You know what I mean? Nobody taught me about capitalism and economics and shit like that. And so I've had to learn a lot of this stuff on my own, and it's been an expensive lesson and a hard lesson. But I've had to learn it, and I've learned it.
Fuck. Because it's one of those, and I've followed for a while now and listened to you in the Lion's Den and those places, and it's been, business wise, it's helped me a lot because I'm a blue collar kid. I always had what I needed, but we weren't rich. We weren't poor, but we weren't rich, and it was one of those. I've told that story to a lot of people about, like, picking up aluminum cans on the side of the road. I learned to work. So do you ever see yourself retiring, stopping, slowing down,
No,
taking it easy?
no, I take it easy all the
Why?
time. Oh, I take it easy all the time. I'm not, dude. This whole grind hard movement is fucking dumb. All these dudes are like grind, grind, grind.
So
It's
glad you
fucking
said
dumb.
that.
Like, nobody wants to do that. I take it easy all the time. I go to the beach all the time. I chill all the time. I go to my ranch all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm very much an advocate of creating that life that you want. I don't want to be stressed to the max and dying of a heart attack at tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I don't believe in that whole grind your ass off culture. But I'm never going to retire. I don't know what that means. Like, to stop doing what I love, because I love what I do. So why would I stop doing it? You know what I mean? And it'll
I
morph,
love that.
and it'll go there. And so it's like tomorrow will be different than today, and next year will be different than this year. And I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep doing what I love to do. Right now, I mean, candidly, I've been getting back into art and painting because I love art and I love painting. And it's funny because I'm the Lions Not Sheep guy and the apparel guy, and I built this and the coaching. And I've spent more time doing art the last couple of months. And a lot of people are like, oh, you're going through this divorce, and it's literally ripped my soul out. This has been the most painful 12 weeks of my life. And I've found not just therapy in it, but I've also realized, fuck, man, like, I really enjoy doing this. Like, I've made millions of dollars doing lots of different things: real estate, coaching, apparel, technology. Like, I'm just gonna fucking do art for a while. What's stopping me from just doing art and making millions of dollars doing art? Nothing. Literally nothing other than me. And that's how my mind works. And so I'm like, all right, cool. So I've set a challenge for myself to have my first art exhibit in Q4. It fucking scares me. It's like getting up on stage and with Jordan Peterson, but it's kind of like, why wouldn't I do that? And so in my
Right.
mind, I'm kind of like, well, I'm not this artist and I'm not whatever. No, fuck, I can do whatever the fuck I want. And so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna set myself a challenge and I'm gonna do an art exhibit in Q4. And I don't know what it'll look like and any of that, but mark my words, I'll have my first art exhibit in Q4. And people will be like, what the fuck's Whalen doing? Be like, he's doing what he wants to do. And that's what's beautiful about it.
Are you going to do it there?
I don't know. I have no clue yet. All I know is that I've said I'm going to do an art exhibit in Q4 and I'm going to push myself to make it happen. And I don't know where or when or how or whatever. I don't even know how to fucking do an art exhibit. So again, I'm going to start calling galleries and figuring out. I'll call my artist buddies and be like, yo, so how do I do this shit? You know what I'm saying? But that's how I've operated my whole life. Like, why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I go do shit that I want to do? Something that scares me and excites me. Well, what are you, an artist now? Yeah, fuck, fine. Call me. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, people are so fucking, they're so scared of their own shadow. People are scared of their own fucking shadow. And at the end of the day, people like, they're so afraid of somebody saying, oh, man, you've changed. You know what I say to people that say you've changed? I'm like, thank you. I'm fucking glad you noticed because I have changed. I've been working my ass off to not be the same douchebag I was last year. So thank you for seeing that. And I'm going to keep fucking changing. And I think that's the polarization around me and my life is people are like, what the fuck is up with this guy? Like, what is he doing? One day you're
You're
over here,
evolving.
one day you're over there, and one day you're ranching, and one day you're driving a Lamborghini, and then you're driving a John Deere tractor, and it's like, what is this? And I'm like, it's everything I want. Like, why aren't you doing the same thing? There's literally nothing stopping you. There's nothing stopping anybody listening to this from doing and being anything that you want.
That's gold right there. I've talked with so many people, worked with so many people that are afraid, even for something simple to fucking change their diet. I can't do it or whatever they want to say. It's like, you just fucking go. And if you do, and that's the most amazing thing about living where we live is we can do whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah, it's true.
And we take it for granted. Like, I was approached by some clients about bringing back a podcast. I immediately said, fuck yeah, let's do it. I didn't think about it, and I was like, who can I talk to? And I just started reaching out to people. Like, who do I want to sit down with in here? Like, who do I want to learn from? And it was, it's fucking scary because what?
Oh.
Now you're what are you, a podcaster now? Everybody's got a podcast. I'm like, no, I wanted to do it because it's fun. I'm
Yes.
having a fucking blast.
Don't say no. Say yeah. I'm a podcaster,
Just say yeah.
and I'm a dad, and I'm a husband, and I'm a fucking rancher, and I'm a business guy, and I'm a fucking cigar smoker, and look, man, we're dying. We're literally dying. The truth is, we're all fucking dying, and what you choose to spend your time and your energy on today is 100% up to you. I just choose to spend my time doing the shit that makes me filled. Like me filled, like me whole, like makes me happy. And at the end of the day, if you don't like it, I don't fucking care. I don't fucking care because you have nothing to do with my life. You have nothing to do with my bills. You have nothing to do with my children. You have nothing to do with anything. And I don't say that, but a lot of people hear that and go, oh, you're kind of an asshole. Well, then call me an asshole. I don't fucking care. But there are very few people listening to this that will be at my funeral. There's very few people listening to this that are paying my bills. There's very few people listening to this that have ever bought any of my apparel, broken bread with me, smoked a cigar with me. But yet somehow in my mind, I'm supposed to run and dictate my life based off of what a bunch of strangers think or feel or want. Fuck that shit, dude. I'm going to do me. Period. End of story.
We care too much about what everybody else's fucking opinions are.
Way,
and it's really
way.
this has been an ongoing battle I've fought. as my career has changed and as the internet has changed and everybody's on the fucking internet with their coaching, and I was just terrified to like start sharing. And it's one of those things of like, once I started to do it, like, okay, the people that I want to draw in, the people that I want to share with, they're coming in. The people that don't care, or the people that don't like what I do, they'll go off on their own, and that's fine. Like, I'm not like, I don't, when you grow, at least when I grew up, like, I just wanted to fit in. Like, I wanted to, I went, thankfully I had parents that put me through great school, but I was going to school with like doctors and lawyers kids. And I was wearing like Kmart shoes.
Yeah.
And, I just wanted to fit in. And eventually, like, I realized, like, nah, I'm not meant to fit in. Yeah. I'm meant to do my own thing, do it my way. Would you be comfortable if I asked you a question about what you're going through right
now? Be more specific.
So, you're in the middle of, your life has changed a dramatic amount. How are you getting through it? Like, how are you dealing with what you're going through?
I'm literally going through it. I'm sitting in it. And probably my biggest takeaway over the last 12 weeks is that I'm sitting. I'm a fixer. I'm a builder. I'm a goer. I'm a doer. It's how I've always been. Like, we got a problem, let's solve it. We got a thing. We got a thing. We got a thing. And, 12 weeks ago, my wife decided she didn't want to be married to me anymore. And all the rumor mill started and blah, 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 blah. And I mean, I've never cheated on a woman in my life. Like, I've been fiercely loyal. And anybody with half a brain realizes you've never seen Sean without Saxony or Saxony without Sean. It's just how it is. Like, we've been inseparable since day one because that's the life that I wanted to build. That's my best friend. Like,
right.
I honestly don't give a fuck about golfing with the homies. If I got a weekend or a night or a day, I want to be with my wife. That's just how I operate. And it's been the most difficult 12 weeks of my life because I didn't see this coming. I didn't anticipate it. I didn't want it. I don't want it. And watching the person that you love the most do what they're doing and have their own experience is really, really, really difficult. It's really painful. But one of the things that I have been going through is it. I had a really cool experience last year where I spoke at my friend Garrett White's event in Las Vegas. And a year prior, God put this idea in my brain because I do a lot of public speaking. He's like, who would you have to become to be able to teach without using your words? I'm like, what? It doesn't make any sense. And for almost a year, I kept having this vision of who would I have to become to be able to teach people without actually using my words? Who would I have to become to stand in front of a group of people and teach them without speaking? Doesn't make any sense, right? Makes no sense. And I kept having this vision, and it was like I kept speaking at all these events, and I kept thinking to myself, like, of how terrifying it would be to stand in front of a group of people where you're supposed to speak and teach and educate and say nothing. Now, this, like, for me, this was terrifying because it didn't make any sense, but I had this feeling over and over and over again. To make a long story short, I was the opening speaker at this huge event that my buddy Garrett did, thousands of men, huge arena, $1 million event. And the night before, I was laying on the couch in Las Vegas, and God was like, "You're going to do this tomorrow." And I'm like, fuck no. There's no way. And he's like, "No, you're going to do this tomorrow." And no one knew. I didn't set it up. I didn't talk about it. I didn't tell Garrett. And when I walked into the arena, I felt like I was going to throw up because I was so scared. And to make, I end up walking out on stage, and I stood in front of a couple thousand men for 52 minutes and never spoke. And it was the most powerful experience so far of my professional career, because there wasn't like, okay, guys, we're going to do this social experiment. I'm going to stand here and not talk, and we're just going to do that. they introduced me, clap, blah, blah, blah. I walk out onto the front of the stage with this huge thing, these huge screens and thousands of men streaming in from around the world. And I just stood there. And it was interesting because I had this portal open up between me and God. Because, I mean, if you think about it, even for like 10 seconds, that seems like an eternity. It's 10 seconds. And so I'm looking at all of these men in their face and I'm talking to God and I'm like, okay, are we good? Are we good? It's like 2 minutes. And then the 3 minutes. And then 4 minutes. And I'm like, okay, God, like this is fucking hard. This is really hard. And 5, 6, 7, people started heckling. Some guys started heckling. Everybody's kind of going, what the fuck? People were messaging in going, hey, is the audio broken? What's going on? It kind of created this storm of chaos because no one had any idea what the fuck was happening. I'm this great public speaker and I was going to bring the fucking fire and make it rain and the whole thing. And I was just standing there. I didn't move. And I just went row by row looking at every man in his eyes. And I was wrestling with it more than anything. And I kept, like, literally, I was talking, like, the way that we're talking, I was talking to God. I'm like, okay, are we good? Like, did we get the lesson here? Can I start talking now? And I kept hearing the same thing over and over and over again. He said, Sean, just stand here. I will do all the teaching today. I'm like, all right, cool. Like 10 minutes, 12, 15 minutes. Are we good? Are we good? Are we good? Just stand there. I'll do all the teaching. Guys started like raising their arms like we were at church. There was dudes bawling. There was a guy who was heckling me at like 7 minutes. He's like, hey, man, we paid a lot of money to be here. You should start talking now. I'm like, all right, God, what do I do? And he's like, just stand here. I'm going to do all the teaching. And it was interesting because it took me 22 minutes. At 22 minutes, I remember the clock, and I remember looking back, and Garrett was in the back of the room with his arms out. And I finally surrendered. At 22 minutes, I was like, all right, man, I'm all in. I'm all in. And for the last half of the deal, I mean, guys were doing this and doing that. Almost 100 men ended up coming up onto the stage and standing with me. There's like a fucking army of men, literally. And I didn't say anything. I didn't say a single word. It wasn't like, hey, guys, come on up. Guys were just having their own unique experience. And it was the most powerful talk that I've ever given. But I didn't say a word. And so, you know, I mean, to kind of bring this full circle back to answer your question, about a month and a half ago, I was having a rough night with this because I haven't heard from my wife in 12 weeks. She hasn't responded to a single text message, a single email, a single phone call, nothing. And that's a hard place to be as a man. It's like to watch your beloved have this experience where that's the reality. And I remember I was standing in a shower and I was really emotional. And I remember hearing God say, just sit in this. I'm going to do all the teaching. And I'm like, yeah, but dude, I don't want to. Like, I like being married. Like, I want marriage. And we got a thing and we got a podcast and we got millions of people following and watching. And this is embarrassing. This is humbling. This fucking sucks. I don't like living in an Airbnb. I got a $2 million house that I bought. That's fucking dope as shit. She's just kicking it up there. Like, I want to be in my house and I want to play with my dogs. Like, what the fuck? And God was like, just sit in this. I'm going to do all of the teaching. And I'm like, all right. And I think as men, I'll speak for myself. I've never done this before. I've never just sat. And so, you know, one of the things that I thought about in this sitting is like doing nothing. But the truth of the matter is doing nothing is doing something. Doing nothing is doing something. And I think a lot of men struggle with this idea that we have to be going and going and going and going and going. And the reality is we never actually stop to listen or to hear or to be taught or to be shred, like just shredded, gutted open to be able to build something new, you know. And Lions Not Sheep and everything that you see today came from my divorce that was 12 years ago. It came from what was the darkest period of my life. And now here I am sitting in the darkest period of my life. And so I can only imagine that the work that's being done, what I'm learning, what I'm experiencing, what's being shaped inside of me in this sitting stage, I can only fathom what it will look like in 6, 8, 12, 18, 24 months, you know? But that's where I'm at, to answer your question.
Wow. That one, that hit hard. You know, one of the things that immediately comes to my mind is, you know, and you talk openly about your faith, which I love. Do you find yourself wrestling with God a lot?
No. Nope. No, I mean, I've become so accustomed to hearing him and listening to him and trusting him. I might wrestle with what I'm supposed to do. I'm wrestling right now with this experience, but I don't wrestle with him at all.
That's kind of what I mean. Wrestling with the task that you're given.
Yeah. No, there's definitely, I mean, like I said, I mean, imagine, are you married?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Any guy who's listening to this, imagine your wife doesn't talk to you for 3 months. It's unfathomable. It would crush you. It would crush the average guy. I mean, if you're in a good marriage and you have connection and love, and
Right.
it would crush you. Especially if there wasn't like a setup for it, or hey, we're gonna do this or do that. She just fucking turns you off. It would crush you. So this whole process where God's like, just sit in this. I'm gonna do all the teaching. I don't want to. It's not comfortable. It hurts. It's terribly painful. But I also have faith and trust in Him through my life experiences up to this point to know that there's a purpose. Doesn't make sense to me. I would have scripted this totally different, but this is what it is.
That took a turn that I didn't anticipate. You know, I was putting questions together and I didn't know what you were going to share and what you weren't. And again, you just met me. So in that, right, when you're describing that speaking engagement and sitting there in silence, like, I had an emotional reaction to it just now of like, I'm imagining sitting there or even being in your shoes and standing on a stage in front of tons of people. And if you were to speak, that would take away the pain, that discomfort. Mm-hmm. Or if you were to, if you were to approach your situation now differently, maybe it would take away some of the pain. But does that help you heal? Does it help you grow? Or is that it's just a fix, like a drug? So at what point, like, what do you maybe you're going to end up being some sort of influential artist, you know? The fact that you started painting again, like, and I love when people are saying like, oh, it's not art now. Art is here. Art is here.
Yeah.
And if that's your way of expressing somehow what you're going through right now, and unless someone has been through your exact situation, they don't know.
Right.
Or even if they have. I can't sit here. I've been through a divorce. It was fucking terrible. I never want to experience it again. But I can't sit here and say, dude, I get it. No, I don't. I don't know anything about it. And I'll never know. But that lesson is the lesson of sitting in it, like, and talking, you're talking about it openly, which I appreciate. It helps me. And hopefully it helps one other person, if nothing else. But that's that got heavy quick. But you know what? That's the way life is. Life isn't light.
Right.
And I think,
I agree.
how is like, has it brought you like closer to your kids?
I've got a great relationship with my children for sure.
Yeah.
But, in the midst of all this, I found out I'm going to be a grandpa. My daughter's, having a baby, expecting a baby. And so
Congrats.
there's been a lot of, thank you. There's been a lot of beauty in this, and I think that that's part of the gift. Is, you know, there's a lot of beauty in the darkness. There's a lot of beauty in the pain. There's actually a lot of insight that we shirk because we don't want to deal with the darkness and we don't want to deal with the pain.
So that was, I think, one of my last questions that just popped into my head was, you know, in the amount of darkness that you're in, what is the most beautiful thing that you've experienced in the last 12 weeks?
I'm really getting to know myself. I'm becoming more comfortable in sitting, which has always made me uncomfortable because I'm always going and doing and going and doing. And so sitting in this space, what my mind and ego wants to talk about is that I'm doing nothing and that I should be doing something. And so it's been a beautiful thing to be able to sit in your pain and sit in your frustration and sit with the darkness when I want to run from it. I want to sedate from it, which is what I think most men do. You know, they just go out and find chicks or they go drink or whatever. And, you know, I'm not drinking and I'm not going out and I'm sitting. And it's been a very, very, very powerful experience for me to be here.
I think you just brought it full circle, because the first question I asked, your answer was your ego.
Right.
And the greatest gift from all of this is learning more about that. And like that, I mean, I couldn't have scripted that any better. Thank you. I guess my last question is, what's your favorite cigar? Because I want to send you a couple.
Fat Bottom Betty.
Fat Bottom Betty.
Fat Bottom Betty. That's my favorite stick. Deadwood is who makes it. It's my favorite stick.
All right. I'll search them up and figure out. I'll send you a message and I'll send them out your way.
Oh yeah.
But dude, I really appreciate the time, man. It means a lot, and especially because you got up today and you didn't fucking want to do it.
Yeah.
So the lesson in that to anybody that ever listens to this is just fucking get up and do it, because you're alive, right? We're here. We get to fucking do this. The most influential thing, and I've got this in my gym back in Charleston, you don't have to do this. You get to.
Right.
Like
100%.
there's a lot of fucking people that didn't wake up today. So
Totally
again,
agree.
thank you so much for your time, brother. I appreciate it.
Welcome, man.
I hope
Thanks
the
for having
rest
me.
of your day goes great, man.
It'll be awesome.